So we're in Tanya now, chapter Tes Zayin 16, and we're on page Chaf Beis. We're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the bottom after the brackets. The words start with V'zeh Ramzu Razal. The V'zeh refers to the concept that a cold love in the heart, which the Alter Rebbe calls here Tfunas Liboy, Talumais Utfunas Liboy, within the recesses of the heart, there's the type of love which is kind of more of a rational love for Hashem. That's why it's called Tivuna, from the word understanding, Liboy, within the heart. And we explained that is the feeling that it's right to do so and so. There's several times in the Pedic, the Alter Rebbe uses the word Ye'oseh Loi, Ye'oseh, Yud Aleph, Sof, Hey. Ye'oseh means so it's appropriate. And he employs this word several times in the chapter because this is the type of love that we're talking about. It's not a heartfelt love of heart palpitations where you feel Hashem in every fiber of your body. Rather, it's more of a calculated love. In other words, what's fueling this love is the seichel. But normally when the seichel, when the intellect fuels love, once it enters the heart of love, it's full of passion. And the seichel takes a back seat. And the seichel it's as though the seichel is not there. The seichel has to be there, because otherwise we have a wild type of love, which we've discussed. Beginning with the Hasidic movement, the Hasidei Tok, remember, 1770, which caused the Vilna Gaon and to come out. It was part of the reason why he came out against Hasidim, was because of this humiliation that this Hasidic group did to the Misnagdim at the time, and they were very upset. So that's wild love. It's unbridled love, but it's cuckoo, it's crazy, it's very unhealthy, right? And just as a point of reference, it just hit me. Just as, the psychedelics and the drug and LSD and everything else of the 60s was, in hindsight, uplifting on one hand, but very wild and very dangerous and, very unbridled. And, so too, 200 years earlier, you had a different type of drug called Hasidim who belittled the Misnagdim. You don't think of it as a drug, but it was a drug. It was a drug of making fun of making fun of seichel. We want to eradicate intellect. The Judaism of intellect, the Western Europe Judaism, and Yekishet Judaism, and Litvak Judaism, and Ashkenaz Judaism, they felt is abomination to God, and we're going to destroy it. Well, that's a drug. Yes, Hillel.
What was the term used? Hasidei something?
Hasidei Tok. But in Hebrew, Tok is Tuf, Lamed, Kuf. And if you reverse the letters, you get Tuf, Kuf, Lamed, which equals, in the English calendar, 1770. Right? The year Tuf, Kuf, Lamed is 1770. Tok is a Yiddish word which means it has no purpose. Purpose. Tok means there's a purpose, there's purpose. The idea of Hasidei Tok means that they had no purpose. The purpose was one thing, was to destroy the Misnagdim. And it was unbridled, and it was wild, and it was a loose cannon, and it caused chaos. So in other words, like this, and I don't want to go into it because we've got to finish the third chapter. The idea that the Baal Shem Tov came and he taught that intellect is not what establishes a Jew, that's correct. But the application of that at the time was very, very wrong. And it caused upheaval, and it caused the Goin and the Misnagdim to issue one of, their excommunication, their Cherem. So why I'm saying this over here is...
The word toka also has meaning in the drug culture.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
A maven yavin, but I won't say more.
Okay, I'm not a maven in this, so I'll have to look it up. What's the word, tolka?
Tok.
Tok, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bekitzer, so the Alter Rebbe is saying here is that seichel, intellect, is necessary for an emotion to be a healthy emotion. But usually, I shouldn't say usually, but the norm is that the seichel, once it creates the feeling, it backs off. It guides it and it keeps it on a straight path, but it allows the emotion to flow. But what if a person doesn't have that flow of emotion? It just doesn't come. He's like a stone. Right? We know what that means. A person feels like they want to cry and it's not coming. They want to laugh and smile and be happy and it's not coming. There's a blockage. So when it comes to Avodas Hashem, if there's a blockage, and we're talking about someone who's a Beinoni, who's an Oved Elikim, and he has a blockage, so how is he able to serve God with this important feeling of Ava and Yira? And the Zohar HaKadosh says that unless you have Ava and Yira, your Torah and mitzvahs are not ascending, are not flying to heaven. They're not getting in. Sorry, chap. Could you imagine? A person is davening and learning, and it's not going to the right place. It's like, I'm working so hard. You work on something, at the end you realize it was a waste of time. So this is very, very depressing for anyone, especially a Beinoni who is an active servant, an active worker. So the Alter Rebbe says, don't worry, Hashem has mercy on you, and He will take your activity that you've worked so hard, and although you don't have a blockage, you have a blockage, and you don't have that feeling of love for Hashem, and He'll consider it as though it does have it, and that's only God can do, and He does it for the active servant, and so. This is what he said till now. Now, he needs support for that. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to bring support from the Gemara. Look inside now, please. 7 lines from the bottom, page Chav Beis. And this idea that I just shared with you, that the Alter Rebbe shares, Ramzu Razal, our sages alluded to, Bi'amram, when they said, Machshava Tova, when a person has a good thought about doing a mitzvah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa l'maaseh. God combines it to action. God considers it as though you did it. You had a thought of putting on tefillin, but you didn't put on the tefillin. Chazal say there's a time when mitzarfa l'maaseh. That doesn't mean you shouldn't put on tefillin, but it means for whatever reason you didn't get a chance, but you really wanted to do it. You get the credit. Mitzarfa l'maaseh. V'havalei l'meimar asks the Balatanya, Chazal should have said, it should have said, Milo of Akosov, the verse considers it, God considers it, Ki'ilu asohu, as though you put on the tefillin. What's this language? Machshava tova, if I have a good thought about doing a mitzvah, mitzarfa, the word siruf. God combines it l'maaseh. That's very, very peculiar. God considers it as though you did it. That's the Balatanya's question here. It's a rhetorical question, and he answers. Eloha inyan, the concept is, based on what we explained until now, we will understand the language of the Chazal, and he explains. The idea of awe and love for God that's revealed in a palpable way in your heart. When you have that, if you're lucky, you have that. If you work to the point where you created that, they invest themselves in your actions. To enliven the mitzvahs so that they fly leparcha le'ela. This is a reference to the Zohar. Why? Ki alev hugam kem chumri. It's a very important point here. Now, the Rebbe says, please know that as wonderful as your heart is, it's still material. Chumri. Kishar evorim. Like any other organ of your body. Shem klei hamaisa, which are considered, Moshe, the vessels of action. You need your hands to put on tefillin. You need your hand to give tzedakah. You need your feet to walk to shul. And you need your heart to express emotion so that the mitzvah you do is an animated one. It's not just, I put on tefillin this morning because I do it every morning and I can do it in my sleep. And I'm a frum Jew, and this is the way. No, when you put on tefillin in the morning, there's an animation and a feeling like you're bursting with love and awe for God as you put on tefillin. So the Alter Rebbe says, so when you have that feeling, if and when you have that feeling is transmitted in the act, in the actual act. So therefore, your heart, which is also chumri, it's also material. The heart is not spiritual, right? And we know that if a God person has issues with their heart, they need a valve replacement, they need this, you need a new heart. So it's chumri. So you have to make the material heart be inspired. Shehein ella, the difference is, Shehu pnimi. The heart is inside. It's deep. V'chayus lohem. And it gives vitality to the rest of the body. V'lochein. That's next page. Yochel islabish behem. We're on top of 44. Liyosh lehem gatfin lahaloisam. That's why the heart, Moshe, can specifically invest itself in mitzvahs and make the mitzvahs fly to heaven, ascend upward. Why? Although the heart is also chumri yisr, it's also material, but it's the pnimi of material. It's kind of the most refined of all the physical organs. And I don't know if the most refined, but one of the more refined organs of the human body is the heart, right? The heart and the brain. So because it's pnimi yisr, when the heart is excited and electrified, it is able to bring a liveliness into Torah and mitzvahs, and that makes the Torah and mitzvahs fly to Hashem. And like I told you yesterday, because to get into the realm of God, you got to be ruchni. You ain't getting in if you're not ruchni. You can be a bystander. You know, it's like Havdil. You can sit out in the outfield, in the bleachers, or you can have box seats and see everything up close. Well, the other organs are more gashmi, more chumri, and they're like on the outside. The heart, although it's material, it's gashmius, but it's the ruchnius kind of the gashmius. So therefore, it's able to cause a ruchnius in the Torah mitzvahs, and your mitzvah kind of leaves your state of geshem, of chumri, of corporeality, and the mitzvah takes on a spiritual form. And when it takes on a spiritual form, it meshes with God, who's spiritual. He transcends spirituality, but the realm of spirituality. And then you get in. Then your Torah mitzvah gets in. It's the right place. It's not a waste. Let's continue. Now, this is true when you have heart palpitations of love for God. But when you only have the type of love, the cold love that we're talking about in this chapter, which we call tfunas moichai v'talumis liboi, govhai darcheihem l'mayla mayla mibchinas ha'maisa. They don't seem to have any ability to get into action or to make your behavior spiritual. It's cold. When you have a warm, you generated a feeling of love, and it's warm. It's so powerful that it can push itself into action and make your act electrified. But if your love is only kind of a secondary love, what we called earlier a cold love, an intellectual love, it's right to do so and so, but I don't really feel it, then it cannot transmit a spirituality to the action, so that the action now is electrified to be able to be spiritual, to ascend into heaven. That's what he's saying right now. And it's impossible for them to be wings to make it go upward, soar upward. That's why unless we have God's help, God single-handedly combines action to your cold love, and he puts them together and he says, it's good. That's why the Chazal say, mitzarfon l'maisa. Let's continue. He says, unless God combines and joins l'bchinas ha'maisa, this is called what Chazal say, right? What was the beginning of the Chazal? Machshava toiva, a good thought. When you have a good thought, mitzarfon l'maisa. So the Alter Rebbe says, what does it mean that you have a good thought? That means that you invested at least in the tavunas libai, tavunas moichai v'talumis libai, in this cold love. Machshava toiva doesn't mean just sitting on your couch and thinking, oh, I'd like to do that. No. It means that you exerted effort and you came to a place, you said, the right thing is for me to follow God, to learn with Hashem, to be intellectually stimulated about Hashem. And then that feeling trickles itself down and it makes some kind of feeling. What's the feeling? The feeling is that it's right for me to have a love. It's right to write. Let's see further. Ki einon tchilu l'chiyum mamish. This feeling isn't an actual palpable awe and love for God. Bizgalus libay, revealed in the heart. Ki im betfunas meichai, it's in the understanding of the mind, v'talumis libay, and in the recesses of the heart, canal, as we mentioned earlier. I want to finish and maybe go back to the footnote afterwards. Tziruf zeh mitzarav HaKadosh Baruch Hu k'dei lahalos ma'isa mitzvahs ve'esek ha'Torah hanasa ma'idei machshava tova anal. When Hashem does this, when Hashem does this tziruf, he combines your intellectual cold love with your action. Where does that ascend to, right? It says in the Zohar, it ascends. Moshe, where does it ascend to? And so we're a little Kabbalah now. There's 4 worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Tzir, Asiya. Depending on how animated your Torah and mitzvahs is, that's where it gets to. Says the Alter Rebbe, Ad, Oilam, Abria, Mokem, Aliyah, Satayra, Mitzvah, Dasam, Beidichilu, Chilu, Sichliyu. Hashem is Galas Libris Mamish. He says, that, basically, the difference between one in this regard, the world of Bria, creation, and the world of Yetzira, formation, is Yetzira is the Midos, and Bria is Seichel. So when your Torah mitzvahs is a result of your Seichel, and that gets communicated to your behavior, to what you do, the ascension of that Torah mitzvahs inspired by that type of intellect flies right into, in a sense, right into Bria. Why? Because Bria is the world of intellectualism, the spiritual world of intellectualism. So because you created a love for God using your seichel, you get rewarded that it goes into Bria. What if you didn't? You only created an emotional response and you lacked the intellectual. It goes into the world of Yetzirah. That's what the Rebbe says here. Nevertheless, this will ascend to the world of Yetzirah through the more natural, latent, inherent love that's found in the heart of every Jew from birth, as the Alter Rebbe will explain later on, I think chapter 19 at length. What's the point of him saying over here this? Alter Rebbe, what's the connect? Why does he have to say all this, where it goes to? He wants the Davening to know the Alter Rebbe is finding solace constantly. Because when you work hard, when we work hard, we want to see results, right? Even if it's not ego-driven, the nature of the human being is results. So here's a question. Here's a man called Davening, and he's an oived, as we discussed the last few days, Moshe, right? He's really working to overcome his nature. And now you're telling him that what he does doesn't go to the right place. It's very depressing. So the Alter Rebbe says it goes to the right place. There's two places. One is the world of Bria, one is the world of Yetzirah. So even if it doesn't get to Olam HaBriya at this point, because it didn't have the fuel of intellect in its top form, it had the fuel of a natural love that you developed vis-a-vis your avodah, and it goes to the world of Yetzirah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean before chapter 19. Chapter 39 in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe explains this concept much more at length, so of course we'll leave it for then. But for now, the Davening must know that all good work and all effort, even if he doesn't succeed in creating a palpable, heartfelt love that's caused by deep understanding of God, but he only creates this cold love, you should know that God is mitzaref, takes that love, combines it to your action, even though without God, there's no connection between that love and God. The cold love and being able to ascend into the world of spirituality. See, the world of spirituality, the world of Ruchnius, is very defined. You just can't get in there with soiled garments. When we talk about a story like, the Rebbe Yitzchak Barditchev and Kippur and the student, the person crying cockle-doodle-doo and saying the olive bays, and the Rebbe Yitzchak says, he broke all the gezeros and such stories. That's an anomaly. That's an exception to a rule, and it's true. But that's not the average. The norm is there is a room and there is a situation, and in here, these are the rules. If you meet the qualifications, you get in, and if not, you don't get in until you work harder. And that's a very healthy way of living life because it's necessary. What's not healthy is when you say, if that's the case, I don't have a chance of being better of being greater, of accomplishing more. That's very stifling and very limiting. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov brought to Torah, is never be stifled. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is bringing here in the chapter to explain the Beinani. He's saying, Beinani, you can reach, if you keep on working and you keep on breaking your nature, you will reach the goal of getting into God and being and that your mitzvahs are more spiritual. Why? Because God is going to do you a favor. Machshava tova kodesh baruch hu metzarfa l'maisa. So here it is, Moshe. In other words, if you don't have this concept, this is very important. If you don't have this concept, you say, how do I know my tefillin, my putting on tefillin in the morning really, gets to the right place? This morning I woke up, I was tired and I was grouchy and I have worries and then I come to shul and this guy gives me the right hook and he gives me the left hook. He gives me the eyes, he screams at me, and it's like from all sides. And with all this, I'm wearing tefillin and I'm davening. It's like, and you take off your tefillin, you go home to eat something or go to work, whatever. And you ask yourself, did my davening this morning get anywhere? Or it was just a waste of time? Yeah, so, according to the robotic Judaism, I did what's right. I went to a minyan. There's nothing greater than going to a minyan. I just read yesterday to my wife and daughter here from the Rebbe's conversation. Maybe one day I should read it to you. With Rabbi Getz, the former rabbi of the Kaisel. He had yechidus with the Rebbe. And in the middle, he asked the Rebbe, they spoke about davening, because at the Kaisel, everyone comes to daven. And the Rebbe told him, for me, this is very interesting, because I never saw the Rebbe speak so much about davening with a minyan. The Rebbe said the key to success is davening with a minyan in the morning, Shachris. It's a Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's a chassid. Baal Shem Tov, daven bariches, don't rush your davening, even if you don't end up davening with the minyan. The Rebbe over here, again, he's talking to Rabbi Getz, who's dealing with all kinds of Yidden at the Kaisel. And the Rebbe, in very emphatic words, says that if you start your day with davening a minyan, it creates Seder in your life. And when you have Seder, you have success. Order. Organized. Then the Rebbe then he asks something to the Rebbe. The Rebbe says, he says, and what about machshava zoros? What about foreign thoughts that enter your mind? What's for supper? Frankfurters or hamburgers, right? In the middle of a good Shmoneh Esrei. So the Rebbe says the machshava zoros of someone davening with a minyan is different and better and less of an issue than the machshava zoros of an individual. And he gives an example. The machshava zoros of someone davening with a minyan is the chazan going too fast or going too slow? Should I wait for... The Rebbe says this, Moshe. It's so funny that this is coming from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, But it's amazing.
I don't feel so guilty now at Musaf on Shabbos when I smell the kugel at the Kiddush.
Okay, well, yeah. Compared to ugly, disgusting, inappropriate thoughts that enter someone who's davening himself, the Rebbe says these are kind of acceptable machshava zoros. In other words, of course, you should push those away as well. But the difference is, it's a different, it's not forbidden thoughts. And the Rebbe says that comes from davening with a minyan. And why am I saying this? Because the Beinani can feel lost. My davening today was, terrible, was just lousy. First of all, when you daven with a minyan, you're already in the ballpark. The Chazal say, Hein keil kabel yimos, your tefillos won't be despised. Many accolades and praise for davening with a minyan. Order it creates in your life, you'll have a better day. But more so is that what the Alter Rebbe is saying here in chapter 16 of Tanya is that those Torah mitzvahs created by your davening, if you at least have enough intellect to fuel a feeling that it's right to be proper. I don't feel it yet in my heart, but it's right what I'm doing. It's right to do this for God. God likes that, and He says, I'm going to combine that and give it the spiritual ingredient that it can make your Torah mitzvahs ascend to heaven, to the right place. And that's a beautiful thing. That's very comforting for the Beinani. Chevra, think about it, because it's good stuff here that Alter Rebbe is teaching us.
That's also a good word for Parshas Baaloscha.
What's that?
Lifting up the lights.
Lifting up the lights. Baaloscha Saneris. Yeah. Every one of us, we should lift up the lights. You guys, Baaloscha, us, Nasa, we began a difference in Parshas now for a while, because last year. And go with simcha, and go with good davening and learning and make a farbrengen. The Rebbe always considered the Shabbos after Shavuos a continuation to Shavuos. So Moshe shared the wonderful news. I think Isser, Moshe, maybe a few others learned 4 hours, a mimer or so, or learned for hours. I mean, I didn't do that. So I'm jealous. I'm gewaldig. At least my students did it. Gewaldig. And continue that. Continue, Moshe. Moshe, continue. It doesn't have to be only Shavuos night. And if there's a few chevra from Eish Kodesh and others that want to learn some Chassidus more seriously, create a chavura,
Are we going to learn the Tagah?
Maybe we'll learn it. You want to learn it now quickly? I can learn it now quickly because I really.
Let's do that. So
okay.
We can start the new chapter.
Right. Okay. So, the Alter Rebbe says he brings a source for what he's saying. His interpretation of Machshava Tova. He brings a source from Zohar. So page 44 in the Haggadah. Ve'etz Chaim. It says in Kabbalah, the Tfuna, the word Tevuna, Oisiyos Bein Ubas. The letters Ben, Beis Nun, Ubas, Beis Sof make up the word Tevuna. Shehein, Tchilu Rechimu. Right? We learned in chapter 3 in Tanya, Avi, that the son and the daughter are the emotions coming from the parents who's Chachma and Bina. Chachma and Bina, wisdom and understanding, create the son and the daughter, which is the emotions. Ulepamim Hatfuna, Yoredes lios moichin benukva de zeirampin. Sometimes the tevuna descends to become the brain, the intellect of malchus, of the midos. Shehein oisias atayra v'mitzvahs ha'maskul yovin, which means the letters, the words of Torah mitzvahs is inspired with the tevuna. So he's just using Kabbalistic words that sometimes the tfuna will impact malchus of midos. So malchus is action, right? Bottom line. So sometimes when you have this experience where you invest in at least and create the cold love, the intellectual love, God will then make that inspire your oisius, your words of Torah mitzvahs, that will be accepted and it'll go to the right place. Okay, have a great Shabbos to everyone. We'll see everyone Monday. Bye-bye. Shalom. Bye-bye. Take care.